we were sitting in the office of the NZVA, and I can't remember what caused the conversation, but we started to talk about the sorts of things that the profession does on a day-to-day basis or a week-to-week basis. And someone mentioned, and it may not be the right example, but euthanizing, might have been you, Sarah, euthanizing healthy animals. I won't have a dog, I've got a dog, I'm going overseas, I can't even, no one can own it, I can't give it to anybody, put the dog down. Probably hardly ever happens. But the conversation that emerged out of that was, if we're thinking about well-being for animals and humans in the environment, probably a good place to start is with the profession. So what is it about the profession that we might be able to do more of, less of, or get rid of in terms of the things that you do on a day-to-day basis that would maximise your well-being as professionals? And if we got that right, would that mean that caring for animals and caring for the linkages between humans and the environment more enjoyable because your well-being was maximised? And if there were things that you were being asked to do, and in this example we felt that really putting healthy animals down that you don't eat is probably an example of society abrogating its responsibility, and the profession probably, if you have a think about it, picks up a number of things that society has abrogated because the alternative is not palatable for the animal, and so you do the best for the animal what's right at the time. And we've started to ask various groups around the country the sorts of things that really, Caroline was saying before, used to be okay to do, like inductions, routine inductions and dairy cows. It was there was almost a critical mass of external people as well as internal to the profession saying it's just no longer right to do that. And if we can start to get a feel from our members what sorts of things that might be, there may be an opportunity for us to use one or two of those, a little bit like the AMR statement, and get it out into the public domain in a values-based statement, and then come in behind with a range of stakeholders who are having similar issues or similar concerns or want to make similar progress, and work with them on some solutions. And one of the examples, sometimes when you talk about groups, you can't remember whether you've actually used this example or not, so I've already given it to you, tell me so, but I was listening to the TV a couple of weeks ago, and the chief executive for Harness Racing New Zealand was on the television and said the use of whips and horses is going to be gone. He might have said by the end of Christmas or this year or next year or something, and the point was we weren't saying that. Our equine branch wasn't, we hadn't supported our equine branch to come out and say actually it's no longer acceptable to the general public or to us to do that, so we have to find some alternatives. And that's really the kind of thing that we're asking you guys to have a think about, and that it's legitimate to start to increasingly think about the things that you want to change that are no longer acceptable to your values or your ethics. And not tomorrow necessarily, because there's all sorts of implications of changing things, you just don't do it the next day, but I guess we're saying it's legitimate to start to think about that and let us know, because we're doing a lot of work anyway, and we may as well pick something that's really important to everybody in the profession that will make a real difference to the way the society views at the roles of animals, and the more society lifts the role of animals in society, then the more the profession is lifted, because you're integral to all of that. So is there something that is keeping you awake at night now that you think would be useful for us to consider making a stand on?
That bottom one, the thing that you would do differently with our well-being was as important, because the first one does not have to deal with people saying, oh, but I can't afford that. That's the first one. And the second one will be not doing after hours. Or not being in the position that you can't make a decision whether that's really, you can't say to someone, that's not urgent, I'll see you on Monday, because you're terrified that you'll be complained about somewhere, or whatever. I don't think anybody objects to going to see a CALLUM cow. Obviously she needs assistance, but the cat's got a burst abscess, not urgent. And so I know in our family that those two things, if we didn't have to deal with those, we would love the vets. But those are things
perfect
us
examples. They're perfect. Because, look, I've been in this profession 9 years now, having come out of human health. And I remember about 3 or 4 years ago, a state in Australia changed the after-hours rules in Australia. They removed them. Only one state.
Right out there.
Correct.
They physically didn't have vets who could live out there or be anywhere possible.
And we had a discussion within the NZVA office, and overwhelmingly, the way I remembered it, was that the profession wants to retain after hours. So that's maybe true, might be true or might not be, but it would be a great thing to debate again, wouldn't it? Because if
Yes,
it's...
I think it's just sort of being pressure that you must see it because, I think my cat's in pain. Well, it might be, it might not be, but as soon as they press that pain button, you don't jump to it. They'll complain to the CAC or your rate go to the cold. That's what's stressful. It's not, I think everybody in this room will probably be different about what's stressful to them. Some people might be really stressed by putting down a healthy dog, others might not. I personally would be extremely stressed about looking at a horse, and then other people here would be quite happy to look at a horse. So, that varies, but I think most would agree that those, time after time, that's what gets you down, is that those two.
So what do others think about after hours?
Well, I find after hours, basically, there's very few actual emergencies.
Yes.
Most are nowadays it's getting more like the warehouse situation, 24/7 shopping, and they expect you to be open 24/7, and they expect to ring you at any time, day or night, just to bring in a sick cat, just because it's convenient for them. And they'll ring you up, say, in the weekend, and want to come in at a specific time or leave them there. Where if it was during the week, you'd say, come in tomorrow, come in 4 o'clock, or whatever, you'd make an appointment. But they ring up, of course they can get you, you're available to them, you're their personal vet. You're sitting there waiting for them.
I think it's a great opportunity with all our senior practice principals in here to kind of look at Taranaki as a whole about an after hours.
I'm just thinking about after hours. I don't want to mention
I've been
it.
trying for years to try and work.
Do you want a job on Saturdays and Sundays? 48 weekends a year.
I think there's a great opportunity to practice sheer after hours within Taranaki. It's a great opportunity to have a small animal practice down in Hara and one in New Plymouth area or somewhere like that. So that all the small, in Stratford, if you're having a baby, you have to go to New Plymouth.
Yeah.
Wow, in Stratford, you call on the week and you're down there in 5 minutes. What better service have you got? So I think there's an opportunity here, and I think that you'll find your graduates are probably getting to that stage as well. They've got life outside of the day as well, and they like to go and do things. And the biggest constraint is you've got after hours.
Well, don't wait for us, you go for it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think
That's a great example.
a lot of those are working quite well. Certainly in our Hastings and Napier branches, we have a shared, we compete quite strongly, but we actually have a shared after hours for companion animals. Sometimes you get into a difficulty with the production animal medicine, whether you can provide this, whether the other practices have the skills required to provide the things, and either equine or some of those others. But yeah, once you get over your original, a little bit of a pullback, it can work really well. And I certainly think most of those practices are open 7 days a week, so it's still quite a lot of commitment anyway. But I think the more we can make it better for ourselves, because actually this problem is going to get, it's compounded by two problems actually. The change of society with animals, they're becoming more and more important. I had an after hours chicken the other day at 10 o'clock at night, because this chicken is part of the family now, so chickens have now become really like the cat.
Not under the bedclothes though, please.
But they know them by name, it's very important to them. So, the change of the place. And the other problem is, of course, that we're not really charging enough and earning enough such that maybe we could work, if you are working after hours, you actually get time off in lieu, so that you have a rolling 5 day rather than a 7 day continued by another 5 days, and then you get your weekend after that, which is what most of us do when we're on duty. So it also comes back to profitability of practices such that we can't actually buy our lifestyle because we are cheaper. In my area, it costs me less to get a vet out than it does to get the plumber to my place. So I live rurally, so that's something we all need to take responsibility for, and that. So,
I'd like to say something to Carolyn too. I was talking to, was it Clarissa? Someone I spoke earlier. So we broke out an after hours arrangement in Nelson quite a few years ago where we share after hours, and I guess there's two really important lessons out of that. Well, there's three really. One is that we actually got all the practice principles around the table and said, enough's enough. This is killing us all. Let's make it slightly different, and that means putting all of our prejudices and history aside and actually just getting on with making this work. So we put a heads of agreement in place and an NIU, and we've got, and out of that we've developed a fantastic relationship in terms of after hours provision, but also in terms of the practices actually starting to get on with each other and a much more collegiate working environment. But a couple of things that we've learned out of that, one is that when you start sharing after hours, you see less after hours. Which is really interesting. So what we've seen is that we see far fewer people than we did when we were all doing our own, because actually most of them want to see their own vet. So if you're there 24 hours a day on the end of the phone, they're going to make you come out to see them. But if they get Hands at Halifax, the last thing they want to do is go and see Hands unless their cat is really sick. So it waits till the morning and they
nothing against Hands, by the way.
Nothing against Hands. Well, me or vice versa. But that's been a really interesting learning experience. So actually, our overall after hours burden has dropped. And the other thing that we did is we charge them really well for it. If they want to see us, so we all charge the same fee. It's not negotiable. And if they want to see a vet after hours, then it costs them quite a lot of money. We actually substantially raised the fee that we were charging for after hours service provision, because we thought, well, right, there has to be a barrier, and actually the barrier for many people is cost. And so, you're going to see those people that genuinely need to be seen, but it's a fantastic deterrent for the ones that don't really want to be seen, that just thought that you're available, so they might get you out at 1 o'clock in the morning to look at their cat bite abscess. So, I can't recommend it strongly enough, I guess. It's fundamentally changed the way that we have practiced. And I was saying to Clarissa, when I started in Nelson, I was on every second night. Now, until I took this new role, but now most of our vets do 2 or 3 nights a month. And yes, they can be busy, but more often than not, they're not. They answer all their phone calls, but most people now wait because they want to see their own vet in the morning. It's only 6 hours away. It's worth waiting for. And
We've already got the advantage that we all get on pretty well.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so you've got the basis of it. You couldn't broker it in certain parts, but if it's not that hard to do, get together and do it.
What you're probably doing there too, a lot of practice with a uniform approach, like one practice after hours basically speaking, you're avoiding all those people that travel across town because they're bad debt with the other clinics.
Yeah.
And use after hours as an excuse for not getting any money.
Yeah, that's right.
So after hours tend to be bad debt. Especially if it wasn't a client of yours and they travelled across town. You knew before you saw it.
So this comes back to the things that really are at odds with us being able to do the right thing. So that's the situation in small animals, especially being unable to treat. Certainly in the bigger centres, there has been an increase in uptake of insurance, pet insurance, which will make a difference. I haven't seen that so much in Hawke's Bay. And once again, that is probably a middle and upper class income people that will be doing that, because the lower income people probably don't have the disposable income to buy the insurance. But once again, we can't presuppose that, because that is very dangerous to do that. So I think insurance is certainly an interesting one, although we also had a debate up in Auckland about where that will go, because if we look at human health, some of those human health insurers pretty much set the fees for a lot of procedures now in the human surgical field. So that's an interesting two-sided, but I think we've probably got a whole lot of gain to get before we get to that point.
Isn't the groups like the blossoming of all the different insurance companies for animal health, isn't it sort of accounted to the rising cost of veterinary practice or veterinary services?
Yes, it may be. I don't think any of them have done particularly well, in that we've seen quite a turnover over time of insurance companies. I think with the advent of the latest big one that's come in, that's probably given some surety in that market. I don't think it has. There are some major issues as far as I'm concerned with pet insurance because of all the clauses that they have. But I mean, if you read your own insurance, it's pretty scary when you read it. Whether you could even understand it, it's
Well,
pretty
insurance is only work if most people don't use it.
Absolutely. So we've got all the other issues that are causing, and these were just some of a little bit of a dump of some things that we need to think about. There's no answers to these, but this is where you're starting to think about what is it odds about doing the right thing here. And we're talking about, when we have had that situation recently with the cows on the stream, we've got your poor body condition animals that are a problem, and what do you do, and you can't affect change with that farmer. You've got in drought situations, which in Hawke's Bay we know quite a bit about, farmers not making early sensible decisions or taking responsibility. And this has been, I think probably this is quite an underlying theme, is that we tend to take responsibility for animal owners who don't take responsibility. And that can be seen in the dog bite situation, it can be seen in the cat management situation, and it can also be seen in the drought situation, where farmers say it's not my problem, it's a drought, what could I do? Well, my reply to that is, you own the paddocks, you own the fences, anything that you put in there is your responsibility, because they haven't got the option of getting out. So, we often take over a whole lot of responsibilities when our clients don't. So these are the real issues which we have about trying to get the right thing to be done. Preventative programs not being taken up. We just have to look at reproductive vaccines to know, why aren't they taken up? Because the return on those is just, it's silly that they're not taken up, and yet we actually can't get them taken up as well. And then we have other issues which are kind of more community-based issues, such as the organic movement. Where are we going to sit with regards to welfare on that? There are going to be some really interesting welfare questions about organic farming and what that actually means, where we're not using preventative things to prevent preventable diseases, and these animals may die as part of the organic food chain. And that's not the picture that is presented of organics. Raw milk, where we've had the right of the consumer over food safety. To me, that's a really, I'm very much at odds with that from the point of view of doing the right thing. So, doing the right thing, there are some really difficult issues out there, and these are things that there are no simple solutions, and as we've shown you with some of the stuff that we're working on, it takes everybody to get together to talk about these things and try to work out where that middle ground is going to be. You have to take the people from the extremes, like the Cat Fancy versus the Morgan Foundation, and try and find the sweet spot. And when we're looking at farming and sustainability and environmental issues, we're going to have to do the same thing. We can't really abdicate our responsibilities here, because everything is going to tie in together. We can't really give advice on stocking rates and how people are going to farm unless we have an overview of some of those things and how they will go together, because our farmers are going to be impacted, but we all have to work together on it. So when we look at here, we've got some issues as we get better and better at keeping animals alive. And you can look in the States about renal transplants and things like that, where they take one cat and take a kidney out and pop it in the other cat, and then you have to adopt the donor cat. Where's the ethics on that? Where is the line that we're going to draw? And of course, this is happening in medicine all the time, where they're having to make decisions on, they can keep people alive if they throw enough money, and at what quality, I don't know, but where do we make those decisions? We have to be sitting and recognising the benefit of pet ownership is huge, and we have to really understand our role in that. There's a huge science out there that says that with regards to children growing up with pets is hugely beneficial to their mental impact, older people, mental health and physical health, and just the whole recognised benefit of ownership of pets right through people and communities. The impact of the environmental things like droughts and how that affects mental health. We know the mental health situation in the farming community is very bad. And so when we're out there, we need to be aware of those things as well as our own mental health as we go through things. The loving cats and loving birds, we are really quite a big dilemma for a lot of people as to how they're going to get that middle ground and what that's going to look like. Feeding the world, so the world needs protein, but we want to keep our streams clean. Using less antibiotics, so that we use them more carefully now, so that we do have them in the future. Global travel, so we're talking about biosecurity here. We all globally, we travel everywhere, and the threat is that we can take disease everywhere. So we look at Ebola, we look at swine flu, bird flus, etc., the Zika. In the old days, we always used to think it would be an insect vector coming through, but now it's the jumbo jet coming through. You know, we have some really big risks there. And as I said before, farming profitability versus productivity is going to be a real challenge, and one that some people would say we should steer away from because it's really all too difficult, because at the moment most of us really want to believe that New Zealand is clean and green. And the thought that our rivers may not be so good is really nearly a grief to us, I think. And so some people react very angrily to that. What we've got to do is kind of get over that and bring the facts together, try and be able to talk sensibly to get some outcomes, and trying to start work together on getting good outcomes. Because I think, as I said before, everybody will agree we want some good outcomes on the environmental impact of ourselves living wherever we are, whether it's urban, and you know, we worry about stormwater and sewage treatment in cities as well, whether we're lifestylers and our septic tanks are up to scratch, or whether we're farming. Everybody's got to take responsibility.